Fun. Well,
You know, I'd love to get a celebrity on and ask them what they think about LinkedIn.
Rory.
I'm sorry, Rory.
11,500 followers on LinkedIn, but it doesn't really count. Because it's recruiter. They
Yeah.
want jobs, don't they?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's not the same as like Instagram.
It's still cool.
How exciting is this? We have the first guest
Super exciting.
ever.
Hello, first guest.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No, we're honored to have
Pleasure.
you. Yeah.
So, who are you and what do you do?
So my name is Rory Laughton Scott. So I am founder of a company called The Career Agent. I've been a recruiter for 12 years. I recruit for small to medium businesses, and I do career coaching for individuals from grads all the way up to senior people to help people get the right job for them on both sides.
Amazing. And how important is LinkedIn and networking to you?
LinkedIn is very important. It's kind of a necessary evil, I suppose. They have a what's frustrating. I mean, it's called the LinkedIn Ick, this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
What's frustrating is they have a monopoly, so they can sort of do what they like.
Yeah.
But even if you don't like LinkedIn, it's just you've got to be on it. There's not really a choice whether you're an employer looking to hire people or a candidate looking to get jobs. I'm on it a lot, and you get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that's your LinkedIn?
Yeah. But you
No,
have to use
I thought
LinkedIn.
about this on the way. So my LinkedIn, the first one is people saying, I'm delighted to announce
Yes.
that. But then I thought maybe that's a bit harsh. People put such boring stuff on. But then sometimes those people work for a company and they're worried about what the company thinks.
Yeah.
But really LinkedIn should all be about you being you and your own personal brand. But there's only so much you can do with companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my second LinkedIn ick is people telling you that they've given up alcohol and that they're having they're having huge, great results. And it's like, I see it and I go, I had a drink last night or something.
Yeah.
So, you go, that's fine. They might be right, but I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
It's up to them.
I've never
Yeah.
thought of that as
That
an
is
ick,
so
but now when
icky.
you say it, that
It
is
is.
pretty
Yeah.
spot on.
Ice baths as well.
Yeah. TMI, guys. TMI.
Yeah.
Well, it's got nothing to do with that. But anyway,
No.
I mean, it's good.
Be
It's good.
authentic, but
Be authentic,
also
but not too authentic.
Ice baths have died down a bit now.
Yeah,
You don't see
yeah.
much, but alcohol, I've given alcohol and I feel great. It's like, well, that's lovely.
yeah.
That was nice to know. Thank you for that information. But
And I guess if it's part of your journey in a way, it's I can understand it that you bring that up and be like,
Yeah.
this really helped as part of my journey.
Yeah.
But if it's your whole personality, maybe like,
I don't know. Maybe it's all good, and who knows? We might all give up alcohol in 30 years or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, and maybe it's okay to share. I quite like when people share their fitness journeys, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
I suppose, and it is so. Maybe it's contradicting exactly what my other ick.
yeah.
So it's an interesting debate.
Yeah.
I think go for it. Who cares what I think?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to do it, then bloody do it. Because even content that people don't like, there's no such
Someone
thing
likes
as
it.
well, but there's no
Yeah.
such thing as bad publicity,
Yeah,
right?
no.
And I think if you want to do it, then go for it and tell
Yeah,
people
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Even though I've said it's an ick, I just see them and I go, oh, here we go, seeing this again, the health benefits.
this is the beauty as well, right?
Yeah.
Icks are individual.
Yeah.
And quite personal.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they are.
like you said, some people will be like, oh, stop posting about your marathons. Like,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I actually rate that,
Exactly.
So you will connect to those
Yeah.
people that you
Yeah.
don't feel so icky about.
Icks can be personal and then they can be collective icks as well. Like there are icks that everyone has.
Yeah.
And then there are those icks that are like, oh no, certain people have these icks. So
Yeah.
it's fair.
So obviously one of our first icks that we talked about is just like showing up at all on LinkedIn and on networking events. And people are hesitant to do it because it feels so icky. So as a recruiter, what would you say about that? Like about the hesitant to show up as yourself and the authenticity?
Well, it depends. I mean, I think you can't. I think it's fashionable now to have a personal brand and to be yourself. And if you are, say, you're applying to a job and you're one of 100 people, 200 people who applies to it, and your CV looks similar to someone else's, I personally, when I'm opening a CV and I see that someone has done taekwondo competitions or does a small dog walking business on the side, or their real passion is cooking and they love doing Asian dishes. It's just something that you go, okay, so this is a real person that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
And I think particularly for young people think make a CV that's good for everyone. It's like, no, for me, you should show who you are and clearly thinking strategically about what roles you want and what they would want to see.
Yeah.
If you're applying for marketing agencies, they want to see some vibrancy. If you're applying to a bank, they may not don't go quite as mad.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I think that sort of thing is important to feel confident to be yourself. And if you don't feel confident to be yourself, then follow people like us who perhaps are a bit out there with stuff that we say and go, well, if they're saying it, then why can't I be myself a little bit more? But I think talking about yourself is very difficult and people don't like that. So you could also say, well, get your friends to describe you and take that and then go, should I use that on my LinkedIn? Yeah. But you can't really fail in terms of making a bit of a racket on there.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree. I always say make a bit of a racket.
Yeah.
Like
you say those exact words.
Literally, I make a ruckus. That's what I've said
before.
So
make a raccoon.
Yeah. But no, that is actually great advice, especially for we've said before, the podcast we want to support the younger people who might have nothing yet to put on their CV. So the advice that show us more than just, what you think a certain person is looking for. Tell us about you and use those skills that you might have or any of the personal stuff you do and put them in your CV, because a recruiter will look at that and then go, oh, this is really interesting. You're a multifaceted person.
Yeah.
Like that is, I think, really great advice, because I've looked at some CVs for like younger people before and they're like, can you just have a look? And I'm like, but you do this. Why is this not on here? Like, and I think that's
well, almost everyone I speak to I say, why isn't that in your CV? But it's not just young people; it's of all.
Oh yeah,
of all ages.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It becomes so flat otherwise, right? Like you're such a two-dimensional person if it's like just a CV with your like accomplishments, like.
But also a LinkedIn profile without a tagline, without a banner image. Yeah. Without the open to work thing on, like all of these things. If you say what you're passionate about on your tagline, and have a small think about it, then I mean, literally, if you're job searching as a recruiter, I will search using my tools I have, my very expensive LinkedIn tool.
Yeah, that you told us about.
And if I'm paying for it, please, you might as well do what I need you to do, so I'll find you. Yeah. So then I'll search, looking for marketing roles, and if someone says passionate about the marketing industry in their tagline, you're more likely to come further up the rankings, and I will find you, like in Taken.
That is such a good point. I don't think people realize how important that is up there, because it's like serious professional. You would never search for that,
Why would someone search for that? Like.
Yeah.
It's so broad. Like, everyone,
exactly.
Technically, anyone who's gone on LinkedIn is a serious professional.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great example. So we've covered a bit like what would make you like grab that CV and actually read it, right? In the hundreds that you have to read.
Yeah.
And so what's the worst way you can use LinkedIn as a job seeker or client seeker?
Well, I think it's interesting. I was going to answer your question about CVs because I have to go through 200 CVs that I get through LinkedIn, but maybe we can go on to that a bit later, maybe.
Yeah.
But I suppose the worst thing is that the antithesis of that, which is nothing on there, no LinkedIn reviews, because I read recommendations. I read all recommendations.
You heard it here first, guys.
Great insights.
They read recommendations. Recruiters read those recommendations. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Rory.
But I also, the whole LinkedIn, because I do career coaching, I help people, and you apply for a job, 200 applications, and you look at it and go, oh, your heart sinks. Am I going to get looked at out of those 200? Yeah. So I encourage people to network, to go around the system. So on LinkedIn, find companies that you like and apply to them directly, or find smaller businesses. So when you apply to a job, go, okay, I like that. Now can I find smaller companies in the same industry and apply to them, and they might have way less application numbers. But I also read recommendations. I love them. I think it's, there's two types of recommendations. You can tell if someone's been asked to write it because the tone is like they always did a good job. But if it goes that next level and says this person is fantastic, that means more to me than the CV really, because it's social proof, right?
Yeah.
You want to go into a restaurant, it says 5 stars, and you go, okay, we might give this a go.
Yeah, 100%.
So recommendations are good, but also when you ask someone for a recommendation, and everybody hates asking, you're also saying to that person, I'm job searching, this is what I would like. And that networking thing really works.
Yeah, I've got actually a really good way to ask for recommendations for anyone out there who doesn't have any. Top tip. Yeah, so what I do, especially in the earlier months of the year where people are job seeking or whatever, I don't actually say I'm job seeking, but I will send I'll make a bit of copy and say, hey, I'm optimizing my LinkedIn at the moment and I'm looking for recommendations. I know we've worked together. It will take not that long and it can be as cheesy as you like, but please pop me a recommendation. And I'll copy that and paste that message, personalize it in any way I can, send it out to like at least 30 people and that I've worked with before. And then I'll say, of course, I'll write you one back and see how many people will do it back. But that is like me doing it in a quick fire way because it's also thinking about getting those recommendations. And I try and do them while I'm at the job and ask people in IRL to write them, but then sometimes you forget. Yeah. And then the best thing that I can do then is be like, hey, we worked together, we did this together, drop me a recommendation and I'll write you one in return. Yeah. And that tit for tat, which is what we've said before, LinkedIn is a place where everyone needs to get something out of it. Yeah. Most of the time it works and people bite.
Okay, I don't want to shoot down what you said.
Yeah.
Oh, please do.
Because it's not that kind of place. But, so say I've seen it where there's 2 students on the same course have written each other a recommendation. And it's like, bless you for trying, but I'm not going to take that as seriously as your manager. So I think what you could do is go, right, who are find the most senior people you've worked with that you got on with the best and give those 2 criteria a score out of 5. I worked with this person, he or she was senior at 5. Did I get on with him or her? Well, we got on. I'm not sure, it's maybe a 3 for the relationship. I'm going to just go for it because they can only say no and start there and then work backwards. You can do your 30, but think the more senior, the better. Someone on your level is okay. Someone, but I'm going to read it and I'm going to say, right, this is good. Who wrote it? The manager, okay, or the founder of the business or something. Right. Yeah. I should take this really seriously.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's
a really good
brilliant.
Point. Yeah. With senior people, I really do suggest that people ask them IRL as well. And then follow up. Follow up because
they're busy.
They're busy. Yeah.
In real life, IRL in real life.
Yeah.
You see?
Got it.
He's down with the kids.
Down with the kids. That's it. That's IRL. It means in real life, so that they don't forget. I use that a lot.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, we don't have that much time on this pod, guys.
Yeah, because also we're so online all the time, so IRL. Oh, brilliant. You wanted to talk about CVs through LinkedIn. Do you want to get into
Okay, so there's sort of 200 CVs. I get 200 applications for a role. And so that means that I'm looking for anything to discount you so that I can whittle it down to 10. And if I see there's people don't think about when they upload their CV, what is it saved as? So there might be Hannah Anderson .4 brackets dot close brackets or something like that. And I'm like, why not
edit 7?
Edit 7.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it would have taken
I've never
3
done that.
seconds. Well, no, we've all done it, but 3 seconds to look at it and go, I'll just edit that. And that shows to me a different level of person who's put the effort into it. And then you take that across the whole CV, this isn't a CV session. Yeah. But you see different fonts, different font sizes, bullet points at different indentations. Yeah. Changing, it's not necessarily changing colors, but the whole thing just does not make any sense. Or, a title that's in the wrong place and you go, 5 minutes. and you could have sorted that out. And it's showing to me that you don't really care about this, or rather you've sort of just got to send it.
Yeah.
Whereas I will get people where their CV is absolutely spotless.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, this is a person who cares, and a bright person who's thought about it.
Yeah.
And then add on if it's aligned with how it is on the LinkedIn profile as well.
Yeah.
Must be the best.
My view is to maybe put slightly less into the LinkedIn profile than your CV, cut it down a little bit, possibly, because I don't like it when there's like 30 lines or 20 lines of text.
I am more meant like the organization and like the attention to detail and like
100%.
Yeah.
So it carries over into LinkedIn. So they're not just a great candidate on CV, they're also a great one in LinkedIn. And I think that's what Hannah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
and I think the best thing about being alive today, IRL.
Yeah. There we go. You got it.
Right. Is that it's never been easier to borrow information from other people, right?
Yeah.
Your competitors, other candidates are all there. You can see everything they're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, everything was, the word intellectual property is difficult now.
Yeah.
Apart from for what KFC with their spices. Are they sponsoring this? No, they're not.
We hope
They will
one
now.
day. Yeah.
McDonald's with, whatever. But no, so there's all this information out there. You can find one, not just ours, but one you like and go, that's a good idea. And it just takes a bit of thought.
Yeah.
Even though it's talking about yourself, which everybody hates. Not everyone. 90% of people hate.
Yeah.
And so that's why you get so anxious and you're like, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you're missing so many little tricks that would take 10 minutes to sort out.
I actually thought about this earlier today, how in general people are quite busy, have a lot going on, and it's like back and forth. You might be tired and there's so much going on. So if you just have that focus to go a bit above and beyond to do like your LinkedIn profile or create that CV or connect with those correct people, you're so much ahead.
Yeah, you're already ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Talking about above and beyond.
Yeah.
When you apply to a job and there's 200 others, people have started to connect with the hiring manager.
Yes.
So I will get 8 connection requests, and I think, well, that's a good effort.
Yeah.
And that if it's a nicely written message, I might open the CV, I might go and find their CV because I like the fact they've contacted me. Mm-hmm. But you can go one further and bring back the cover letter. So LinkedIn have decided to get rid of cover letter. I understand you've had a debate about this before.
Yeah, we have had a debate because I'm like anti-cover letter. No, I'm not anti it, but I'm like, I can skip it if it's not that important. But actually, Rory, in the context of what you're saying right now, I agree with the cover letter.
Oh, excellent. So you can also do voice notes. So you could send a voice note.
Love
you can send a voice
which
note.
Brilliant.
People can't help but listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you see a voice note come up, you're like, wonder what that is.
Yeah.
So you could do a cover letter. I mean, you could send a video, or you could send a voice note to the hiring manager who has, if they've accepted your request, and say, I've applied.
Yeah.
You don't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
You can say, I've applied. I'm really interested. I just wondered. And as a result of me hearing that person's voice, I'll go, I wonder what their CV is like.
Yeah.
Because we're curious creatures.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take that, I know it's not LinkedIn, but if you apply to a job and call through Switchboard, if someone gets through to me, I will open their CV because the effort that they've made just to do that is something. But with LinkedIn, I think the cover letter should never have died on LinkedIn because it shows that you've made the effort to apply to the job.
But now that it has died, it makes it easier for you to stand out because
with those other methods.
When you do a cover letter, exactly. It's and that's where I'm like, I think it's a good thing because like you don't have to now. It's not it's not an obligation, but because of that, the people who want to stand out and go above and beyond, all it takes is now a cover letter.
Yeah.
Or not that.
Which is half an hour's work, maybe.
Yeah.
An hour's work.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
And then for even less, you do a voice note.
Yeah.
Because
and you're like even more personal.
We're going to talk about ghosting in a bit, aren't we?
Yes, we are going to talk about
because we get recruiters get ghosted.
Oh, I bet.
Because people apply to a job and they just, because it's one click, might as well.
Yeah.
And then I invite for an interview, don't hear back. And I don't mind. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Because other people will reply. But anyway, sorry, I'll let you ask the question about ghosting.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll get into that. But I'm just going to say...
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm just going to get into how we're coming back to this 3-dimensional person, right? And we're all human. And this also goes into ghosting and why it's easy to ghost people, recruiters, because there are so many and it doesn't feel personal and three-dimensional. So what we have written about ghosting is that sometimes recruiters get a bad rap.
Yes,
because
we
of
have
the
said that.
ghosting.
And actually that's the predominant thing we get with when I speak to people and they talk about recruiters.
Yeah.
Is usually the ghosting. And most of the content about it is don't ghost candidates. And I mean,
I do it.
Yeah, we've said we
why.
ghost people.
Exactly.
I think there are, but we've said that there are caveats to ghosting.
100%.
And there are reasons why we will ghost, and there are probably reasons why you will ghost, which we'd love to go into.
I can tell you why, which will make people feel better about it.
Yes, please.
Which is if I spent time saying to candidates why I'm not moving their CV forward, then I wouldn't have enough money to eat.
Yeah.
Right. So, but what's frustrating is when you've spoken to a candidate and then you decide not to go with them and you then don't speak to them again. So if you've exchanged message or you've called them, that's not good. And I try to not do that.
Yeah.
But but the reason that it happens is, so you at one point you were the top candidate.
Yeah.
And it might be that you got 5 more applications the next day. So say it's a role at, what should we do? KFC again? McDonald's?
Yeah, go for KFC.
Yeah.
McDonald's marketing manager, right? That's the role.
Big
Love
job.
that job.
And you've applied, you've got a marketing degree, great. But the next, and so the candidate, recruiter reaches out, would love to chat. And you go, oh, great. In your mind, you've already got a job at McDonald's doing marketing, right? And then the next day, an application comes in from the current KFC marketing person
Yeah.
and a marketing coordinator at Subway, et cetera,
Wow. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that person is going to be prioritized. And if suddenly the recruiter goes cold on you, you'll feel, are you swearing or not? We don't.
Yeah,
you can swear. Go for it.
You'll feel like shit.
Yeah.
You'll feel, I failed.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. But actually, this is all a game. And don't hate the player, hate the game.
I always say that too. Don't
Right?
play
So
the game.
it's not anyone's real fault. That some recruiters are not, should put more effort in to let people know.
Yeah.
But ultimately, your CV, for whatever reason, either you could have done something better, or someone's applied who's just got everything that they could that you could want. So like KFC, for example. But then you've shifted places in the hierarchy, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you can be cross about it, or you can go, right, okay, I respect that is how it works, and the system's broken and it needs fixing, but I don't know who's going to fix it. So you go, okay, that one's gone a bit cold. I'm going to go again, and I'm not going to take that to heart because I pick people up. Job searching is the loneliest place on earth. That's my view.
Yeah.
It's consistent rejection. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
That's why going through your existing network is better, because people will give you more respect and they'll explain you to things. Because otherwise, I get 300 applications. I can't go through 300.
Give everyone. Yeah.
Naturally. Yeah.
So that's what I think.
I think
ghosting.
it's very interesting with ghosting, like you said before as well, that you guys get ghosted. Yeah. And that's such a good...
Because everyone's ghosting everyone.
Yeah. It's such a good measurement of if someone really wants it or not.
Yeah.
If it's just one of those CVs that you've sent out, and even if you have a good one, like you might not care at all.
Yeah.
Well, my best one of that is I placed somebody. I was working. It was an internal placement, so I placed them into the job, signed the contract, didn't turn up on the first day.
Fuck me.
Which is fine.
That's a really bad.
I've got over it. But we get ghosted all the time. But that's our job, to try and really check whether they're right and whether they really want this.
That's the height of ghosting.
Yeah.
That's like falling off the face of the earth.
Yeah. I mean, it does happen the other way around as well. Literally, someone told me yesterday about a role they applied to. They even got the first email, and then they were like, "When's my start date?" Like,
oh no!
Yeah. Oh, an internal.
I'm so glad I'm not applying for a job at the moment.
But that's why Rory says it's a really lonely place.
Yeah,
like because it's the Wild West.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
But what I try and encourage people to do is to say applying to jobs. Because I think we talked about your story about how you got your marketing job. Do you mind? Have you already told us?
I haven't actually told the story. No, I haven't. But it's similar. I think Hannah and I are in similar places where we started like in the most. I was telling Rory about how retail jobs, people have stopped putting them on their CVs. They're like, oh no, I worked a retail job. It's not important anymore. And I started working in retail. It gave me a whole host of skills. And I slowly was like, okay, this is what I want to get to, which is marketing and advertising. How am I going to take the route to get there? And Rory had already said this earlier. He said, guys, if you want a specific job, go around.
Yeah.
So I was telling Rory about how it went from a retail job to starting being an influencer. Then when I did that, I was like, okay, I can do it for a business. Quit my retail job, went and worked for a business. I was like, I can grow your Instagram following. Did it for a couple of businesses. Then eventually I got to the place where I worked for a big hotel chain. And then I was like, okay, I've got a big name on my CV now. The next thing I'm going to do is try and pivot internally into a marketing role at an advertising agency. That happened and things have snowballed from there. I'm trying to keep it short because I can see Hannah's looking at the time. But maybe one day I'll tell the literal story of how that happened.
It was like you ended up in that job at Samsung in marketing, but the way you got into it was by working for a marketing agency where Samsung was one of their clients. Yeah. So then you built relationships that way. So that's one way of getting into you. So you could have sat there and applied to Samsung and been with 5,000 people all applying for the job, or you found a way to come in the side door. And the Pret a Manger CEO started off on the shop floor.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying this is if you're job searching and you're not getting things back, that's depressing.
Yeah.
You've got to say, right, okay, I'm in my retail job. What can I do to get myself to the next level? Say you're retail, say you want to be in marketing, okay. So say you want to be in sales, let's move it on.
Yeah.
And you're in a retail job, you're working in a pub that's owned by someone. So why don't you say, right, let's bring in if we upgrade from a small Diet Coke to a large, if you sell larges, then we'll make that a competition between 5 staff members.
Yeah.
And then if you win that, the competition you've come up with, you can put it on your CV, won the monthly competition to sell more larges.
Upsell, yeah.
And I work with a guy called Jack, who's a friend of mine, he broke the record at Burger King for the Super Size Me upgrade.
Oh my God.
In a
That's
store.
amazing.
And he used that in the next interviews.
Yeah.
And the way he'd do that, someone ordered, he'd say, do you want a super size or a large? He wouldn't say, what size would you want? And that was to lead people that way.
Yeah.
But I coached a guy who had gone out, decided, this is another thing you can do, and entrepreneurship's never been easier, to buy a load of Christmas trees and sell them at Christmas.
Yeah.
And he was 20. True. And when I was coaching him, I was like, do you realize how impressive this is? So you've taken 500 quid, bought some Christmas trees, sold them.
Yeah.
And, this is how YouTubers start and stuff, what you guys are doing. But it's never been easier, I think, to go, right, one more. A guy I know called Louis was a videographer, applying for videographer jobs, couldn't get them, started his own videography business, and now he employs 5 people. They wouldn't hire him because he didn't have a videography degree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know people like that as well. And more, especially in the creative industries, I know a lot of people in it's exactly that. You can't get a job in it. You can't get a seat at the table. You build your own. That's the only way I put it.
But I think it's a way of going to so that thing about being lonely and getting rejections, take that energy and put it into something positive.
Use it to empower yourself.
Which is like, I can keep failing at this, but I've got a plan B. This is how I'm going to get around the system.
Yeah.
Start something yourself. Approach all the shop. I'm doing marketing again. Approach all the shops in your area and go, I'd do some free marketing for you.
Yeah.
I've come up with some ideas for your Instagram. One of them's going to say yes.
Yeah.
If they
100%.
do, you've got an amazing story to tell. So many people now coming out of uni with a 2-1.
Yeah.
And not much else.
Yeah.
And how do you stand out?
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's
it.
Exactly what I did, isn't it, Hannah?
Yeah.
She was there with me while I was hustling and being a content creator while at university.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the reason I'm doing this is because I do want to go into marketing, don't want to go into journalism, but I need to show I have the skills.
Yeah.
And that's
what
I
you
think
did.
as well. Yeah. And for a long time, it's working with it seems like no end in sight, you're waiting for your results, and then you start getting them, and that's what makes you stand out the most.
But what also I get with people with more experience is that they do 10 years in a job, and then they think, I need to apply, right, I want a new job. So another problem with job searching on LinkedIn is that you're never at the top of your game when you're job searching, because you're confident your job's gone down a bit.
Yeah.
You know, you're not doing as well as you were. That's why you're looking to move. So you're never feeling fully confident.
Yeah.
And people with 20 years experience will just go, right, I better look on LinkedIn and see what jobs there are.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm like, no, right, what you should do first is go, who have I worked with that I liked, and write them all down in a list and work down and have coffees. So
Yes.
So you
network your way
bladder's gonna
into
burst.
what you want.
Exactly. And I think this is what we're going to finish on, because we're running out of time.
There goes the timekeeper.
And network, and how it's so important, and how befriending a recruiter can be one of the best ways to do it.
That's my thing.
And like, just keep in touch, and like, also not just take from people.
Yeah.
And then ghost in between, but also like give back. Like, I'll refer you to people if I see you have a role coming up. And I have this like connections with recruiters and other people, like you just said. Write down a list of people you want to work with, or who you have worked with. Any last comments on networking? And as a
well, for recruiters, if you ever speak to a good one, just a chance conversation, then write them down in a spreadsheet and keep them and message them when you're, because if a good candidate, if either of you came to me and said, right, I want a job now, then it would look good on me to be able to have an excuse to go and talk to my clients and say, oh, you know, I've got this lady, I think she's really good. And I'll say, you might not be hiring, but they're available. You might, if you know anyone, and then they're thinking about me.
Brilliant.
Love it.
Yeah.
So that's good. So definitely write down a recruiter and keep their details somewhere. If they sounded good on the phone over 5 minutes, probably means that they were quite good.
And I want to just also say, to add to that, you don't have to have actually gone to the finish line and gotten the job through that recruiter.
No.
Some recruiters are just fucking great.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
Exactly.
And
Like
this is where I was
Rory.
saying, like Rory. And I said, you become besties with a recruiter. Is not, it goes beyond. So it's like Rory said, put them in a spreadsheet, or I keep them on WhatsApp.
Whichever way.
And then you can meet them IRL.
Yeah, WhatsApp is like, and you can meet them IRL, drop.
I think we have the name of the
There's one
pod.
thing we've taught people that for what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
In real life.
That's what we're here for.
That's what people have learned from this.
Thank you so much
you,
for
Rory.
joining us, Rory. And thanks for being our first guest. It's been amazing.
Yeah, we
That's
really
right.
appreciate
Just
you.
let me
Thank you,
know-
Rory.
let me know when
Some
I'm-
amazing insights.
Let me know when I'm coming back.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure.
We're having you
Episode
on.
100.
Yeah, when we have
On
that
KFC.
KFC deal.
Brilliant.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for having me.
Thank
It's
you
been
so
great.
much.
Thank you.